What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Happy Friday Eve. I am Lawrence Henderson, one half of the co-creators of the C3 community, our conscious corporate leader co-op. My battle buddy in success, Karen Huller, is not with us today, as you can see. So she let me do this by myself. She's a little scared and a little trepidation, but she allowed me to be able to be here to interview these two amazing leaders and practitioners of our topic today. And so, y'all, if you're new to the C3 community or you're new to these monthly lives that we do, the C3 community was created out of a desire for two leaders to stop living in a world of competitors, but how can we be in a world of people who love to co-create? And I have two amazing leaders here with me who are ready to co-create and drop knowledge nuggets on you all today. And so I will allow them to introduce themselves, so I won't leave anything out of their bios unintentionally. But I will lead off with Dr. Dina Kelly. If you could, let the people know who you are, where you are in the world, and make everybody jealous for them palm trees.
Yes, the palm trees. I'm Dr. DuRan of SP Consulting Group, LLC, where I am a licensed psychotherapist as well as an organizational development psychologist. And so I really focus a lot more on being what I call a combination of the two. I'm an executive wellness coach. I definitely spend a lot of time focusing on the well-being of the individual leaders, those that are striving to be a leader, as well as, by ordainment life purpose, but also by position, and also working with by contract organizations that are looking to build and sustain a healthy work culture. And I really come from that place of purpose. Everything is interconnected. So whether it's you being healthy, whole, having work-life balance, work-life integration, but then also an organization that can be healthy enough to sustain and support what it is that you are purposed to do. So vice versa. So I will give a quick little tip, and that is just remember that you are the human in the middle. There is no way around it. So whatever is going on with you personally is going to affect you professionally, and vice versa.
I love it. You are the human in the middle.
Yes.
Already starting. All right. And next we have the amazing leader, Dina Kelly. How are you? Where are you?
I am great. I have no palm trees, so I don't have a good background. We might get a barking dog, but we don't have any palm trees. Nice to be here. I am the sales and marketing vice president for a company called American House. We buy, build, and own senior housing communities across the U.S. We do other kinds of real estate, but my passion has always been on the senior side, so we can talk there. I have, over the last 21 years, had the privilege to become a leader and also to then lead other leaders through their career path. And coming up early on in my career, I knew that there had to be a better way. And I knew that there were other people out there that thought like I did, that didn't want codependent, gotcha culture, and really just wanted to be able to grow someone's talent and launch their careers. So the one thing I have really been able to focus on as a leader is how many more people can I bring up with me? And how many more lives can I change by teaching people how to be more autonomous, how to make mistakes and own them, and then how to get through those tough moments, and sort of how do you deal with the circle of any kind of political realm that you might be in. Learned a lot through trial and error, also know Karen, but did a lot of work myself, went back and studied HR because I thought I could be humane and resourceful then. But I really have the privilege of really leading leaders as my primary focus every day.
All right. So y'all know we got the right folks in the room, and so when today's topic, again, in all of our topics that we bring to the live monthly are chosen by the C3 community. And this month they chose empowering people, and again, kind of the description that we wrote up for this session was, imagine working in a place where, you feel like the very energy is being drained out of you because of who you work with or who you work for. And when you think about empowering people in the context of what we've all experienced over the last several years and what we experience today, I'll start with you, Dina. What does empowering people even mean?
It's one of the, it definitely has that corporate buzzword feel to it sometimes, where you're empowered, but truly empowerment is, and to me, is letting people sort of figure out what they want to do. And even if I don't agree, and we always want our bosses to support what we're doing and agree with what we're doing, but to give folks a chance to make some bold steps on their own and to push them a little bit to do it. And then to talk about it, after the fact. I was thinking about this morning while getting ready, and I have a leader on my team who he thinks so different than me and makes me oftentimes like overthink what he's doing. And I often disagree with him. In fact, I would say a good 95% of the time, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to turn out well. And he's proving me wrong time and time again. And some of it is that he sees things very differently than I do. And what I've worked with on him is, you don't need my approval to make a decision. You can ask my opinion, but please don't base all your decisions based on it, because you will limit yourself. And then we have a lot of the, debrief moments of, oh, this worked out. Why did it work out? What can we do going forward? At the same time, he's made some, what some people would call career-ending move mistakes from making those bold leaps. And I have shared this: I will stand beside you if you make a decision that's good for the company, good for the people that are involved, but it fails. I'll stand beside you even if you make it. And you don't have to worry that you have my permission before you do it. So to me, empowerment really is giving people the right and the responsibility to manage themselves like the leaders that they are, and really give them the space to do it. And then the safety net if things don't go well.
Yeah, and Dr. Snee, I'm gonna spin it a little bit for you because you're our resident psychotherapist in the space. What prevents a person, and I love Dina's description, what keeps people from feeling empowered in spaces?
Well, and let me first say that while I don't have a dog in the background, the palm trees comes with garbage. Okay, so I hope you guys can hear me clearly. In order for someone to even feel empowered, they need to first know what is lacking. They need to first know what their baseline is. And when I say lacking, I'm also saying, where are the opportunities to grow? Where are the opportunities to even identify what you need, what's going on now with me? I think that it goes along with that storyline of, you can't be very clear on what you need unless you know what you need. You can't communicate that. You can't say this is the area in which I need to be empowered if you don't even know what it is that is going on with you. So in addition to what was already shared by Dina, is even looking at how can you help people get clear on their why? How can you help people get clear on the opportunities for improvements that they may have? And those go beyond the workplace. Like I said, the human is in the middle. So what's going on with the person that might actually be getting in the way? I have worked with several executives that have climbed the ladder after, and more exponentially, after realizing that they have traumas and indiscretions and insecurities from their past that's feeding and fueling the inner critic, that's feeding and fueling that imposter syndrome, that's getting in their way. So if a person doesn't even know what skills they have, what knowledge they have, what abilities they have, then it's hard for them to then clearly articulate and communicate to a coach, to executive wellness coach, even someone that is in the organization providing wellness, to say, these are the areas in which I need help. These are the areas that I would feel more empowered if and when and with what resources. So I think that it starts with the person understanding their dynamics. What are they bringing to the table? You know, and getting to that place where once they're clear on it, then they can have the words to then communicate. This is how I would feel empowered. Yes, you may be doing another professional development training, but does that have anything to do with me and what I need?
Y'all, man, we 10 minutes into this thing, and both of y'all. So Dean, I'm gonna kick it back over to you. When you think about kind of marrying up what you started off saying and what Dr. Sinead just said about how do we get and support people being able to even begin communicating what's going on with them to even move in a step of becoming empowered and confident.
Yeah. First of all, I love what you said on clear on the why. And I think that's really important. And I think people come to us and they say, I want to grow, but they don't know what they want to grow into, or I want to do this, and they're not sure why. And they think that they do, but that's that clarification. For me, I think it's, you have to really care about somebody to be vested in what they're doing. And in terms of scope of how many people can you actually touch, you can touch a ton of people, but how many people can you actually guide? And in order to find out and to drill into a little bit of what is that why, and what did they bring to the table, and perhaps some of their past experiences, you got to spend time and do the work. So you can have all the one-to-one conversations that you want, but they should be purposeful beyond the business, right? When I took over my current team, I inherited some great people. We'd get on our one-to-one calls and they'd start reporting out numbers. And I was like, oh, it's so dizzying to me. Who are you, right? What makes you tick? Tell me about your family. What's your motivation? Where do you see yourself? What did 8-year-old, Dan want to be when he grew up? And really trying to figure out where they're at. And it took a while, because that's a trust. And I know that some people overtrust and tell you too much, but to really drill down into it. And then the key for me is to be able to give people candid feedback. If someone says to me, I want to be in your role 10 years from now, and I don't tell them what they're missing and what exposures they need and if I just say, oh, you could do it, just keep working hard, I think we're very general. There are people that won't grow into roles because that's not really their skill set and they haven't figured it out yet. So that takes a while. That's how I've experienced it, is really, you have to care. You got to get into it and then figure out what the motivation is. Is it success? Is it money? Is it power? What is it they're looking for? And can you get it? Can you get them there in a reasonable amount of time that meets their goals?
And man, amazing bullets there. And as you were talking, Dina, all I could think about was this word, particularly when I feel like people are stuck or they're waiting for someone. And that waiting is not just, I don't know what to do or move. It's, I've been made to believe I need permission. And you described that earlier with that leader, is like, they've been in this place for so long and they got their hands smacked it was a conditioning. Right. So we're looking at them like, hey, why are y'all leading with numbers instead of the person, the human in the middle, and about this work? Because somebody before they were conditioned to believe it's not okay. And so when you think about how you engage leaders today, Dr. Sinead, to like, for a senior leader, somebody who's set in their ways, it's really hard to all of a sudden to get them to frame seeing a human when it's been about the results the last 20, 30 years of business. How do you begin to shape another a squishy, fallible human being set in their ways? How do you do that, Dr. Sinead?
You do it by understanding I am really big on emotional intelligence. You have to be able to understand what they're listening to. If they're still looking at numbers and they're still looking at metrics and they're still looking at that, cog in the machine sort of way, like, let's start there. How is this person delivering the results? And how can you begin to see the evidence of improved revenue, improved numbers, based off of someone being treated like a human being, someone being empowered? What are the results? let's look at all of the metrics, not just the quantitative, but let's look at the qualitative. What are we getting back from our feedback? What are we getting back from, our customer service feedback channels? What are we doing to really empower these employees, the staff, the mid managers throughout the organization to then come to a place where we realize that if you don't have a machine to produce your results, the pace gets slower, the revenue begins to diminish, and you're talking about not having a sustainable business with time. And there has been plenty of examples out there of organizations who decided to take the shift. First, starting with the numbers. If you want to start there, yes. What are they producing? And do yourself a favor and do an experiment. Let's talk about quality improvement metrics and how we can see when you are now treating them in a way that supports their superpower, that fuels all of their knowledge, skills, and abilities, and still check in to make sure that they're balanced. You're realizing that you're optimizing performance, you're optimizing revenue. We're not just talking about having a sustainable business, we're talking about having a global impact from our business. So it's even ask that leader, what do you want? What is your why? Because if you are having a disconnect between the human and the processes and the numbers, gotta wonder, what were you taught? How were you treated? And how much more were you able to perform with the support? Bring it back to the human. And that's how they can see a roadmap back to, use yourself as an example. Let's be servant leaders here and really highlight empathy.
Oh, you cussing at people now, Dr. Shanae. you starting something now. Now
I was gonna say I kind of got the chills a little bit.
I was waiting for one of y'all to bring up that word first, because you start talking about empowering people, and both Dina, you and Dr. Shanae, like what y'all describing are rooms and spaces that allow a person to be seen, to be heard, and to be appreciated for their uniqueness that they bring to a space. But Dina, how often throughout your leader journey have you had to decode and recode people, and what does that even look like to begin to recode to help someone feel like it's okay to be them? What do you do?
Well, especially you were talking about when someone comes to you, they've been in their career for a long time and they've been successful, right? By the numbers, the things you see, they've been successful. But they've done it in a way where they think, your boss is like the one who judges everything that you do, and that you're constantly in this, I don't know, hamster wheel of trying to make sure everything's okay, right? And when you open that, to decode people, it's sort of changing the conversation and to be very real. It's hard, I think, a lot of leaders that were brought up on a date myself, but in the 90s, right? So we were stiffer, we were told, you had to have this respect thing. And I don't think it works that way anymore. I don't think, and you don't have to be the authority on everything. And some of the things that I have found is to give people assignments on my team. And a couple of my team members are on now listening, probably like eye rolling, but to not make everything about what I can do, and really to give it to them to do, and to have them come back with a plan where I have zero to do with it. In fact, I started a team, a frontline team that's led by higher level teams that created some project work that needed to be done in the organization. And they promptly kicked me out. I'm not invited. I get the end product. I'm not encouraging. All I do is approve the funds. That's it. And for me, I have seen such amazing creativity when people can feel that they can do it themselves. Some of it is saying, I'm not giving you the roadmap. You're going to give me the roadmap and show me what you want to do. And if they've become a leader and they've gotten this far, for those that have, and they don't have a roadmap, then maybe it's like, we're going to business plan together. Let's sit down. Let's break it down. This is how you're going to, break it down. I want to see you put the rest of the work in. But decoding leaders, I don't know. Maybe I need some sessions on that with
yeah.
the good doctor here, because I do have some folks that I could use some help decoding on my team. Know the ones that are listening in right now.
Yeah, right. Just the ones in the back, just the ones in the back, not the ones listening. And before I let Dr. Shanae jump in, it's amazing what you just introduced to the space, Dina, because we're talking about empowering people, and this idea and this bravery of a leader to say, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And it not just be some facetious little ploy to get others to involve themselves, but it's really like, and guess what? At my level, I'm not paid to know what you're supposed to be doing. And so this article, there's a Harvard Business Review article called The Leader as Coach. And the new age leader is really pushing into, and they're actually calling it disruptive change, where the leader now says to a space, I'm not required to know, but I need to be able to ask a better question sooner. And so that means leaders have to stop pontificating. They got to get off that high horse and actually say, self, I got experts in the room with me. How about I ask them a better question and let them respond with their expertise?
Yes.
Oh, mind blown.
I was going to say, I always say I'm a great generalist, but I am not the expert. And my team probably knows better than anyone that in some areas I don't even try, because it's too much. It's too much to control.
No, definitely. And I think what you're speaking to is the last 20, 30, 40 years of promote technical first. And then, and hopefully you can like make more of you, was the idea. Like, I get the context, but now you're hurting, because now you actually didn't promote the best person for the role to grow people. And so, Dr. Shanae, when you think about just what Dina was describing just now, this idea of helping someone unlock maybe some things they shelved, that they were told wasn't acceptable to come forward into a space, but how, when it comes to empowering people, how do you get them to pull stuff off the shelf and start showing up? Because here's the cute phrase, whole at work. How do you start to get a person to believe that that's attainable for them?
Well, I think the key is to help people again get to a place where they are very clear on every element, every skill that they have at that point. Because I think people forget it. Just like you were just saying and discussing, like even with the leaders, they forget that their role is to lead, which is why the servant leadership model is so applicable, because you're not going in this situation, this group, this team, this organizational meeting, to sit there and say, this is why everything should be how I think it should be. Your role, your knowledge, skills, and ability says you are to lead, which then means know who the people are that you're leading, know where the strengths lie, know where the things balance out. And by doing that, you can then point out to people, hey, and especially if this is done throughout the organization, because we're not missing the in-between communication channels. We're not saying that just because you're the leader, the CEO, and then the worker, then there's nothing else going on in between. What you're understanding is there is a constant living and breathing feedback loop. We're at those meetings with people that then
She's just dropping a knowledge bomb. Hold on, Dr. Shanae. You got to repeat. You got to repeat that last nugget, because soon as you cut out. You cut out. Soon as you was dropping that last nugget. The palm trees is hating on you.
I know, right? Y'all get all the nature out here. So anybody that's stuck in an office building, you get all of this. Okay, I wish you could see the fresh grass, but when you are having these meetings with people, when you're doing your huddles, when you're doing your check-in, when you're doing your professional development based meetings, you are grabbing the nuggets of skills that people are passionate about. Then you are able to really have a landscape Say you were to do it like you're I don't know, like an Easter egg hunt. You're collecting all of the jewels that are in your enterprise. And you're saying, I'm going to make sure to support those. I'm going to make sure to even adjust my budget accordingly for what types of training and professional development are needed for this team, this person, this group, this level. And then you're able to say, okay, so looking at that, where are the opportunities to fill in? What are we missing? Then that's when you have intentional position descriptions. You have every level and layer of truth of what do you have. And you can then repeat back to people in a cyclical way, whether it's quarterly, at the end of the month, to say, hey, this is what we've been talking about. This is what we've been working on. Because the thing is, you can make a list. You can have somebody in their own mind think that they're really great at this, that, and the other. But having a very transparent communication, having a very transparent, interaction with every area of an organization helps everyone be very clear on what and who is doing every element of business, every element of support, every element of quality improvement, project, systems redesign. We need to redesign this thing. We ended up having a whole bunch of people that are skilled in this area, even though on paper their position descriptions say that they have all these others. Like, no, this is what we actually have. Let's do some inventory and see where we need to adjust. These things should be living documents, living practices, ongoing.
Yeah.
And that's how you can then make it very clear, both with the individual, like I said, the teams, the groups. What do we have to work with, and what do we need to enhance it?
Yeah. And I'm gonna kick it over to you, Dina, but Dr. Shanae, that was so that you me and you, I miss our conversation. Particularly around talking about leaders and in servant leadership and as a framework and in these different leadership concepts. I'm coming to understand that over the last several years in the new world, this next normal we live in, leaders have been in a lot of cases exposed. Everybody knew how to like emotional intelligence and all the rest of that. They know how to spell it, but nobody knows how to do it. Servant leadership was one of those things that everybody knows how to spell it. Yeah, everybody. I know Robert Greenleaf. You don't know Robert Greenleaf. He wrote his book 40 years ago. But when you talk about putting posters into practice and really being that leader that an organization needs, Dina, how do you get, and we're talking about empowering people, y'all. So thank y'all for coming in, jumping in. Make sure y'all share this live. And if you on hashtag replay, if you're watching it after the fact. But how do you get a leader? How do you empower a leader to do be on the road to where Dr. Shanae was describing, being what the moment needs them to be today? How do you empower a leader to say, I don't know how to be what you need me to be?
How to get them to say it or how to get me to say it is the question. As you're asking it, I'm thinking about, I have a really young leader on my team, and she's one of those people where you get her right and you're like, oh my God, she can do everything, right? And she can, and really it was sort of synthesizing down, what is she good at and what is she passionate about? So she's good at tons of stuff, right? When you take the inventory there, it's a really nice inventory list, but what does she want to do? And in my realm, there's a clear delineation between sales and marketing. We come together, but there's definite differences. And then figuring out that I can't be her mentor. You can't go from here to here, right? So we went on a sort of a search to find the right mentor. There's a children's book called Are You My Mother? And you're like, this little animal's looking for its mom, it's missing, and I'm not her mother, right? I'm definitely her leader. I'm probably as dependent upon her as anyone else, but we found her some mentors, and then investing in the time to put her out there, to go to your mentor, to spend that time. It's okay to talk about even the stuff we talk about, to be able to share it. And I think part of that is, and I guess, my mindset is that if I have to hold everything, I'm holding on to you as well. And we've got to seek it out. I've seen her seek out other people as well because of it, because she is empowered. I hope she's listening. So that was not a plug for her, because she's stuck with me. I'll never let her leave. But if you are truly feeling that you can do that, you're not afraid of the repercussions, you get to go and have other people shape your career. And she'll say to me, I don't know what, I've never seen that before. And I'll say, great, I'll show you. Better yet, let me have someone else show you who uses it all the time. Let me have someone else tell you that who's better at it than me. And so if you were to ask her, she would say, oh, I have a lot of people leading me to my next journey. I actually have someone I hired who's going to be a mentor to her, another mentor to her. And that wasn't the only reason why I hired her, but we set it up. She hasn't even started yet. She already knows she's mentoring this team member of mine. So I think getting them to tell you is part of getting to say, I don't know how to do it either. And it's okay. I'll find someone that does.
Oh, you out here making people uncomfortable, because now you putting into practice and you're bringing to life that transparency.
Yes,
Dr. Shanae was talking about, which ain't nobody got time to be exposing themselves.
right.
I've built my career on being the go-to person.
Yeah.
Right? We all heard that before, right? I want to be known as the person when in doubt, go find Dina. But that's been the thing that we've been subscribing to for so long. But when it comes to empowering, and really, you keep talking about quality improvement, continuous improvement, Dr. Shanae. Why is it so important that leaders and people become comfortable with bringing along the whole squad?
Well, the thing is, people change, systems change. This is why, like even I really love how Dina was talking about having a mentor, and I'd like to even add in there a mentor and a sponsor, because they may not be the same person. Okay,
that's a good point.
Someone that may be guiding you professionally to grow your skills may be different from the person who is in the room with the decision maker, who will need to see that you have the skills that you attain while working with your mentor. Okay, so when it's all said and done, everything needs to change, period. You can't get stuck in thinking that just because one thing worked for this period of time and during this season, during this quarter, that is the same thing that you're going to need. When you are not working with machines, you have to also realize that you are working not with machines of customers. Like, your customers are also not machines. So things evolve. You have to even include in there, and I apologize, it's like they really do want to just keep mowing the lawn right behind me. But like, I cut out again, but I'm back. Okay, but you really have to be in this position primed to evolve, in the position primed to transform. It is about transformation. It's about resilience. You have to be able to realize that it's always a matter. It's just, is the change to then grow, or is the change to completely do a 160 and have other things happen in your business? You have to be always ready for change. That's why, when it's all said and done, nothing is to remain stagnant. Because if you are stagnant, you have to start believing that you're not producing additional fruit. You're not getting to that place where you're expanding. You're just sustaining. You're just operating from a mediocre place. You're not evolving. Like, you are not doing all the things that make living and growing and transformation and expansion great.
Ooh.
So you have to stay.
Say that last part again. You have to stay what? And
I
I
hope
love
I
the way.
answered that. I was a little distracted from the garden.
No, say that you have to be
I was just
what?
saying, and I hope you got all that because I was a little distracted by the gardeners.
No, yeah, and your face has been freezing in these most amazing poses. So it's on live. So we've been seeing all the faces you've been making while you're talking. So I absolutely love it. And when you think about and I love the part particularly around getting comfortable with change, right? And the phrase out there is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable when it comes to change. And for someone who finds it hard to empower another person or give someone else shine or put somebody forward before themselves, what has to be overcome, Dina, like within that person to not feel like something's being taken away from them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that people don't realize that even high level leaders, no matter how many years experience you have, we still get imposter syndrome sometimes. And we see people that come to the workforce from other organizations that are, out of school and really highly educated and really talented. And it can make you check yourself a little bit, right? But if you hire right and you hire to those deficiencies that you have on your team and the things that you need, and you create that open relationship and you let your team shine, that they're representing your business, representing you, and you can feel good about it. I don't think there's a single person out there that doesn't ever second guess themselves or doesn't think, oh wow, these people have really surpassed where I'm at, and they have more than me. But if you can kind of hang on to that and realize you're still learning. I'm sitting here right now, I'm writing notes from what Dr. Shanae is saying, what you're saying, Lawrence, just because there's so much you can learn all the time. And I think what keeps you from getting that fear of I'm going to be replaced is that consistent curiosity about what's going on around you, and to be able to dial that in and feel like, okay, like I just want you to know, since we're sitting here, we're like, we should invite them to come talk at one of our team meetings because you're bringing something else in. And I think part of it is consistently providing your team value, even if you're not the only person doing it. I've learned my limitations and I've learned my strengths. I'm great at bringing other people to the table to help. I'm not great at doing everything. I've tried. It's not good. So part of it is consistent curiosity and learning, knowing what other people do, and then bringing those resources in to say, hey, I can't give you this, but I can give you this, right? It's the same thing that we do when we send our children to school or get counseling or do things that, I've got great friends I could talk to all day, but I need someone who doesn't know me, who could actually see through me. So I think that there's value in that. But don't get me wrong, I don't think any leader won't go through a period of time where they think, can I still do this? and I think that's natural, right? And then we work through it.
Yeah.
But those folks that cut their team off, that don't let them shine, that put them down, again, they have the title of leader, but they're probably not happy doing what they're doing because they're feeling insecure all the time. So really it comes to deciding, are you really a leader? Maybe you're not.
Yeah. And you said it without saying it, but people need to check their ego when it comes to empowering others, because this is you. It's being okay with what's on the inside of you so you could project the right things. And this is being like empowering folks isn't just some song and dance that you sign yourself up for. And you're like, I just need to make it through this empowering day so I could get back to being a narcissist. But in a lot of cases, that's what ends up happening. I only celebrate you as a result of me celebrating myself. I'm like, oh, if I wouldn't have been involved with that, you wouldn't have got as much success as you did. But hey, great job, I showed up. And so when you think about just Dr. Shanae setting a foundation for growth, and there's another word inside of there that I heard you describe, and Dina, and it's really this idea for people to feel like they're in empowering spaces or they have the ability to empower others. There's a bit of trust and there's a bit of relationship that I believe needs to be involved as well. But before we can get there we have to create these learning opportunities, the engagement opportunities, which I believe only can happen when I feel safe with others. and I'm not in competition, right? You just said, you've been on this call with us for 39 minutes now, and you're like, I think I got some resources that I can bring in. And just meant that's where your brain went, because it's who you are. It's not just another thing you do. And so, Dr. Shanae, how do you get an organization to flip the switch to become a development learning organization?
I think the first thing, and know this is going to hurt some folks' feelings. The first thing you need to do is check the fact that it's quite possible that leadership have leaders in roles that aren't naturally leaders by design. If you have people that have trouble out of their own way, ego-wise, pride-wise, humility-wise, they're not natural leaders. And so you're likely to have that everywhere, right? That's not uncommon. But then what are you doing to have even some sort of professional development that is geared towards designing leadership roles that connect with your onboarding, that connect with the resources that you're going to provide once they're there? Because granted, you may have onboarded someone and you screened them properly, have the right, things in place, and they're like, okay, we're seeing some things beyond their degrees that lets me know that, yeah, they have these servant leadership qualities, or they have this natural way about them with thinking about others, thinking about others' development, okay, but you get them there and they may come with what they left from, right? What was the environment and the culture that they left from, okay? And so it's like, okay, but that's where organizations need to start. Start with the leadership. Start with the leadership and say, did we miss something? How can we serve you as a leader to be the leaders that we need for this organization, first and foremost? And if there is any sort of gap in between the leaders that you need and require to build the organizational culture, the organizational health that you desire, yeah, do some professional development, do some training, do some coaching, get them and invest in a coach, an internal or external coach, whatever it is. Do the investments to build the foundation. Because even if you have a crack in the foundation, there's ability to fix it before it gets too bad. But once it gets too bad, you need to do a whole overhaul. Talk about change. How can you prevent needing to do a whole overhaul when you notice some cracks? Pay attention to it. Because if there's cracks in your garage, you're going to call somebody and say, we need to make sure this isn't going to affect the foundation of the house. So once you get to that place, then you can say, okay, if these trainings will supplement what we know is a breeding ground for greatness, then we can move forward. Then we can then set a standard for all of the employees, for all of the support staff, for all of our contractors of how we do business here. But if you realize in the course of that, and I have to say this, if you realize in the course of that you have someone in a high level position that's essentially fulfilling that phrase that they the analogy of the fish rotting from the head situation, you need to cut it down. You need to put in progressive discipline and move them out for the sake of the whole. But you got to have grit, you got to have boldness, and you need to walk with a servant leadership mindset so that they know that it's coming from a place of love. It's coming from a place of authenticity. It's coming from a place of healthy awareness of what the entire organization needs. Not just with the friend that you came in training with that's now, climb the ladder and they done went up and, they friends with this person and they go out drinking and golfing with this person. No, you need to make a decision. What do you want for the organization? Is it going to rot? Or are we going to fix the little cracks here and there and move forward for what we want to be sustainable, impactful, productive business.
All right. So, we are coming to the end of today's time together, y'all. This is the tip of the iceberg with these two leaders. And as you see my little scroller going across the bottom, make sure you connect with them on LinkedIn, across all their social media platforms, so you can get all those tidbits and nuggets from their own platforms and their own audiences. But before we go, I want each of you, just what's one thing that someone can do today to not only empower themselves, but practice empowering another person? What's your one thing that they can do? Dina.
Well, my dog is having a nightmare as we speak. So if you hear screaming in the background, there's nothing going on here. I think that something someone can do to empower themselves is exactly what you said. Find a mentor internally or externally. As you're coming up in an organization, there is no greater help than you can get to get a coach. And I actually think an inside and an outside coach makes sense. Invest in yourself. And I think that happens at every level, right? No matter if you're an SVP or a she's crying, C-level suite person, it doesn't matter. Invest in yourself. That'll give you it. And then from my level down is, if you care about your people, get to know them. Get to know them, help them discover what they're good at and what they're passionate about, and decipher paths that they can take with them. Don't just lead them through the numbers and the things that they have to do. That's their minimal acceptable performance. Know them and care about them personally, and make their future important to you.
Yeah, if you care about people, get to know them. Hashtag Dina said so. I love it. I love it. Dr. Shanae, what's your one thing?
My one thing would be to have a conversation with yourself. Maybe even do some journaling with that. And ask yourself the question, who am I? And is what I'm doing and the role that I'm in any way related to my purpose? And I would take that exercise, what you processed as the benefit from it, answers you got, clarity you got, and have a conversation with someone doing the same. That's how you can then help another person. Share with them the activity. Let them know, yeah, this is probably, you may have done this before, but just do it again. Do a self-check. And let me tell you what I got out of it from me. Allow them to feel that building up of trust. Because then you can be vulnerable and they will then respond in kind.
I love it. I love it, y'all. And so, audience out there, thank y'all for engaging so much with our two leaders today. And again, y'all, this topic, empowering people, is just the tip of the iceberg. And so, if you want to be a part of the C3 community, definitely go on Facebook. Not Facebook. We don't got a Facebook page. We live on LinkedIn. So if you ain't on LinkedIn, too bad. But connect with us if you desire to be a speaker on any of our topics. Be a part of the community so you know what topic is coming next. And so I just want to say thank you to Dina and Dr. Shanae. And before we go today, tell people where they can find you, how they can connect with you. I told them I need them to get all your hashtags and all your names on social media, butterfly 313 or whatever else is going to be out there as your social media names. But how can they find you all?
For me, you can find me at any of the platforms at the SPC Group. The SPC Group. You can also go to my website, which is www.officialspcg.com.
All right.
I was
Dina?
going to say, I want to write that down. This is great. So I'm on LinkedIn. My name, Dina Kelly. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm actually on Facebook too, but don't find me there because that means I have to go on and check. I also, you can also find me at our company webpage, which is American House Senior Living, and under the About Us section. Super happy to be part of this. I feel like this was such a great opportunity to learn, and just thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. And so y'all, until next time, y'all be well, be kind to each other, and go empower somebody. Go empower somebody. We'll see y'all soon.
Take care.
Thank you.